Hello and welcome to the first test episode of the anime podcast, Anime Territory. This week I am your host, Jonny Ruholl, and I'm joined by my best friend since kindergarten.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Schabbing.
And today we're going to be looking at the first 3 episodes of When Supernatural Battles Become Commonplace, doing a more deep look at the first season of Konosuba, and having a lot of fun along the way. So let's get right into our first segment, the Rule of Three. Okay, so in this segment, we watched the first 3 episodes of an anime picked by you, I believe, right?
Yes, I picked this one.
Okay. And what is your criteria for picking the anime?
It's just a anime that has a very either long title or a very weird title.
Okay, so
This one's a little bit of both.
Okay, so it's an anime based off of a light novel. Is basically what you're going off of. I don't know if you know this,
I guess.
but light novels tend to have those long, exaggerated names more so. I mean, I guess it could be manga, but that's the meme is like this light novel is just this ridiculous name that's like, all right, I guess I'll watch this because here's the premise of the show. So in this show, we have like a literature club, which is pretty typical for anime. All of a sudden gain superpowers, and then the hijinks that ensue. We've got a couple of characters. I've made sure to write them down because both of us are terrible at remembering anime character names. We've got Kanzaki Tomoyo, who seems to be the main character. She gets the ability to stop time.
I like to call the power clock stopping.
They have power names, but I didn't write those down, so
I'll make them up. Her power is clock stopping.
Okay. We've got the main male protagonist, the only male in the literature club, another trope, Ando Jirai. He has the power
to make a dark flame.
Yeah, and it's not even hot, right?
It's just lukewarm.
It has, so far as we know, it is useless.
Yes.
And I hope it stays that way. We've also got Kushikawa Hatoko. She can control all the elements, including like light, right?
Yes, so she is the avatar.
Yes, she's Avatar. We've got Himeki Chipuyu, who can just create anything.
So Shiro Emiya.
Okay, so a fate reference for those who don't know that. She has unlimited blade works, is what she has. Okay.
She can basically create anything she wants.
Okay, but Emiya can really only make swords.
That's what she makes.
No, she made spears. Just kind of
spears
swords.
Are just long swords.
She also made rocks at one point, or the ground. And she can apparently like teleport and make gigantic spaces where they can train in or whatever. We've got Sayumi Takanashi, who is the literature club president, and her power is restore or something. She can just bring everything back to its default settings.
Yeah, so she's the fixer.
Okay. All right, so we're not going to go into spoilers for these 3 episodes for the most part. Hearing that they have powers and that they get powers is kind of, that happens in like the first 5 minutes, so I think it's free to talk about that. That's the premise of the show. There are other characters with powers, but we won't go too far into that.
As far as we know, there's only one other one.
Yes, there's only one other one, and there's some sort of sinister thing possibly going on where somebody else knows about it. But don't want to get too far into that. What are your impressions on the first 3 episodes of the show?
It's alright. I don't know. It's kind of bland to me.
Okay. So I'm gonna mirror those thoughts. I think the same thing. However, I also love this shit. This is what I thrived on in college when I was a sad, lonely boy. And I am still sad and lonely, but I think I'm a man now. This is, it's fun. There's some, obviously there's some comedy going on with it, and there's some romance going on, and I eat that garbage for breakfast. Do you want to finish watching the When Supernatural Battles Become Commonplace?
Okay, so I have an idea for how we do this.
Okay.
There's three options. You can watch it, queue it, or drop it.
Okay.
Me, I'm probably queuing it.
You're gonna queue it?
I'm not gonna give up on it because there is some interesting things. People with superpowers is always like,
there could be some
yeah.
interesting stuff, like some My Hero stuff
Yeah.
going on, but
didn't pique my interest enough to like continue watching it right away.
okay. I will tell you right now, I'm gonna watch this show probably later tonight. It should be noted that we live together, so we can watch these shows together. Um, this show is available on Crunchyroll if you're interested. If you like the kind of show where it's just rom com trash, like I do, you go in, you'll have a fun time based on the first 3 episodes. I particularly liked episode 2 of this one. What was your favorite episode of these first 3?
They all blended together. Probably the first one though. Just seeing
Okay.
them introduce powers and stuff.
Okay. I like the character that was. I mean, she was introduced in the first episode, but she was more the highlight of the second episode.
Okay, yeah. The student council president.
Yes, the student council president. I liked her, which moves on to another segment or segment in a segment that we have. We're gonna have this probably in both the the rule of 3 and in the main topic here. We're gonna talk about our dibs for this show.
We're gonna go do this first episode. Very first episode.
Yep, we're gonna get into this. They
We're
know
gonna go
what we're
into
talking
this.
about. Okay, I don't know how this started. It definitely started in high school, maybe with claiming computers for lunchtime in our English teacher's classroom.
Maybe is that where it started?
I remember there was an ice cream treat called dibs that you left a lid on the desk next to a computer because you were calling dibs on that computer. I don't know.
That's how this all started?
I don't know if that's how this all started.
Okay.
I know that was there towards the beginning of this.
Okay.
Basically, we just call dibs on characters. Mostly females, sometimes males, sometimes inanimate objects in case they turn into people.
Or if it's just a really cool car or something, you can call dibs on it.
Yeah, you call dibs on anything. We have certain rules that we keep forgetting and remembering. Eventually, we'll write down the dibstitution and know what they all are.
Yes.
But basically, it's like a game where we try to call dibs on the best characters. That being said, we like immediately forget it. So if we rewatch an anime, we get a chance to do it again. I try to think it's not too objectifying. It's all in good fun. I believe I've got dibs on Clockstopper Girl.
Yes.
On Elements Girl.
Yes.
Neither of us called dibs on the little girl who can create anything.
Because she's like, what, 10?
Yeah. I mean, that's not that stopped us before, but I get a little bit more creeped out about it. You've got dibs on the president who can restore things to default. I don't think any of us have dibs on the main male protagonist, which is just a fault of the game. You really got to stand out as a male if you want to get dibbed by somebody. And then there's actually a conundrum we have to solve. Who has dibs on the student council president, whose name is Mirai Kudo?
We both said dibs at the same time, and we went up to quintuple dibs.
Yes. The rule is if you tie on dibs, you go up to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple. After that, it gets excessive. You call it stop. You do a best 2 out of 3 rock, paper, scissors. So we're going to do that live. Okay. Maybe we'll cut this segment.
Okay, so on shoot.
On shoot.
Best 2 out of 3.
Best 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, I win the first round with scissors. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ben wins the second round with scissors. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I win the third round with rock. Scissors, that winning streak for scissors. I knew you'd go for it. Okay, so that's the segment within a segment. Our dibs on this show. If you like the show, let us know. If the light novels are any good, I probably won't read them, but I have read light novels before. Let us know. If you want us to never talk about dibs again, let us know, because it's going to come up again. If you don't tell us to stop, we will keep doing it. Okay, so let's move into our main topic. We watched all of season 1 of Konosuba. Mm-hmm. I have seen this show, both seasons and the movie. I've not read any of the source material or anything like that, but I am familiar with this show. This is your first time watching it. What are your impressions on the show?
I liked it. It's pretty funny. Usually not my cup of tea in terms of the type of anime I watch, but I enjoyed it.
Okay. Now, what do you mean? Like, what type would you call this anime?
Isekai. I don't watch isekais.
Okay. I I mean, I've watched a lot of them because I've watched a lot of anime and they're just prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are definitely some isekai tropes I'm not a fan of or that bore me. Um, but this one doesn't really have those tropes because a lot of stuff that bores me is when it's just an overpowered main character. It doesn't
Okay.
really have a personality other than he's better than everybody else, either because he played the video game that this world is based off of and his stats are way too high, or he has some sort of special power or something. I don't typically like it when there's no, like, he just easily beats everyone. That being said, I can understand that power trope fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us feel powerless in our lives, and then it's you're like, oh hey, no, you're not a loser. If you were in a fantasy world, you'd be doing great because you know that, I don't know, skeletons are weak to fire. It's like, all right, I guess. Um, but I mean, I like fantasy setting. They're pretty much the only books I read these days are fantasy. Um, the so if you want fantasy and anime, there are like ones that aren't isekais, but it's predominantly isekais in these days.
And I'm not the biggest fantasy person, so like for me, I'm not actively looking for like fantasy settings.
Yeah. Which I would say for my anime, I'm not typically looking for fantasy setting just because it's over flooded with isekais and things that are like isekais but aren't actually. Like, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Is not an isekai. They're all from that world, but they like video gameize the magic, and it's just like, okay, this is the same damn thing. This is not, it's not like all right. I mean, it's like, all right, let's make an anime where everyone fights like it's Dragon Quest, because Dragon Quest, understandably, is great, but super big in Japan. But obviously, levels and learning skills don't really make sense for a typical real setting. Um, I like the comedy of this show. I had this show described to me as if uh, it's like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but an anime. And I can kind of see that. I feel like
A little bit.
maybe it gets more into that in season 2. I
Okay.
remember I remember thinking that was true when first watching it, but that might have been because I watched it all of season 2. I think the point they're trying to get across when they say that is the characters will often have moments where it's like, I could be doing the right thing, and then I'm gonna be this bigger person. And then they don't make that choice. Like, they have the
Oh
inner
yeah,
monologue, and they're like,
especially the main character.
yeah, it's just like, all right, I'm just gonna make the worst choice possible. I'm gonna be not a good person. I would say this Konosuba does not go nearly as extreme as It's Always
No,
Sunny in
no, no, no.
Philadelphia goes. These characters have some redeeming qualities or traits, some less than others. But let's dive in here. I've got every character written down. I've also got some key characteristics. So let's go through the characters here. Main guy is Kazuma. How would you describe Kazuma?
Uh, don't know. Um, he's I don't know. How would you describe him?
I
I,
would
I
say
he's like
I would say he is the main characteristic is not perverted, but perverted
no.
is definitely there.
Oh yeah, yes.
Perverted is definitely there. The
Especially
main
episode 11.
characteristic I would say is just lowly or depraved, maybe. Just kind of.
Maybe lowly.
I wrote down lowly.
Okay.
I wrote that down after like the first episode, though. Our next character is Aqua. Who? How would you describe Aqua, the priestess?
One word would be like vain. Um, also not greedy, but almost
No, I would go
so greedy.
greedy. She wants to live the comfortable life.
Yeah, I would just mainly vain, just because I mean she's a spoilers, I guess, but we're talking about the entire first season.
Yeah, no, this is going to be spoiler filled.
It's also in the first episode, but she's a goddess.
Yeah.
So it's like she's worshipped by people, and then she gets sucked into this fantasy world because of Kazuma. So it's like, of course, she's gonna have some vein in her. She's a god. She's been worshipped.
Yeah. I wrote down the word useless because that's how
She's
Kazuma
not
describes
useless.
her. Honestly, she's got some of the most useful. She does some of the most useful stuff in the show.
Yeah,
She's referred to as useless because it hardly ever comes up.
that she's a goddess, and almost the entire season they're living in a stable.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, what are we doing here?
She's useless in lots of interactions, like just because she thinks people will worship her and they won't.
Mm-hmm.
She accrues a lot of debt. She doesn't seem to help out with the mundane tasks.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if you need a bunch of undead turned or somebody revived from the dead or healed, which are all, yes, very
or
useful
need party
things.
tricks.
Party tricks, I would say, are not useful. But I mean, her magic is top notch. It's just the fact that hardly ever is it warranted.
You can also say she's dumb because she has a very low intelligence.
Yes,
score.
she is very, very dumb. And I would also say lazy, but that's more, I think, a season 2 thing. There's some definite her and Kazuma bonding over being very lazy when they get a little bit more money and can live comfortably. Okay, so the next character I've got down here is Megumin.
Okay.
How would you describe Megumin?
Maybe stubborn to an extent because she refuses to learn any other magic, but she's also like dedicated to it. So it's like a little bit of both.
Okay, so I would say that Megumi, her main characteristic is that she is what's called in Japan a chunibyu or however you want to pronounce it. What do you think that word means now that you've seen both this show and the first 3 episodes of When Supernatural Battles Become Commonplace, which has a very chunibyu character in it, self-described. What do you think that word translates to? Because it doesn't really translate perfectly, but it describes a type of person.
So you think Megumin was a chunibyu?
Yes. And she is called that by Kazuma several times.
Okay, so if she's a chunibyu and the main character from whatever that movie,
When Supernatural Battles Become Commonplace,
they're both chunibyus. It would be. See, I don't know because I literally wrote down what is a chunibyu. That's like the one note I took from that first episode.
Okay, so the best I can describe a chunibyu, if you want to give up, or I'll give you. It is kind of hard to describe.
A little bit in that, and it's almost like somebody who creates like scenarios or like different personas for themselves to avoid like real life.
That's pretty much the gist of it. There's a lot of like tropes with it where you'll see those tropes and associate that with the word, but that's pretty much the root of it. Is that there's somebody normally middle school, high school age, adolescent that is delusional, lost in like not necessarily lost in a fantasy world, but they actively act like they have like some sort of special power, or they've got a lot of this is referenced in the Supernatural Battles, but there's like there's a demon sealed in my arm, and I have to restrain myself, or I've got these restraints. Megumin had that a little bit with her eye patch, saying that it sealed her magic because she was too powerful. It's basically just somebody that's role playing in real life a little bit more than they should be.
Gotcha.
I would say a lot of the characters are aware that they're not like actually insane or anything. They don't think they're in a fantasy world, but they act like they are because they think it's cool. And it is kind of cool in an anime sense, but it's very, very upsetting in the real world. But that's basically what they mean by chunibyu. It's a word to describe that type of that type of person or that phase of your life where you're like, okay, I'm playing pretend, but I'm a little bit too old to play pretend, and I'm doing it a little bit too often.
Yeah.
So that it can be kind of annoying to other people. But yes, you did mention that she only uses one type of magic. That we should note that she can only use the most powerful magic, explosion. She didn't put any. She's fairly low leveled, so she just saved up all of her skill points to put into that, and she refuses to learn other magic because it's not as cool as explosion, which is fair.
It's fair.
It's very fair. It's
Yes.
a cool spell. I wrote down that the music changes whenever she casts the explosion spell. Become very like I don't know how you would describe that, like dramatic, like Star Wars Duel of the Fates. Not really like.
Shoot! I think I know what you're talking about. Hold on. Do they do that every time? But there's that one part where it sounds like they're playing the Imperial March. That might not be her explosion magic, but at some point,
I don't know if, but I think it's pretty much every time she does the explosion magic. The music, it's very dramatic, um, kind of like an opera type music.
oh, okay.
Where it's, I don't think it's actually like singing in it, but it's just very like climactic and epic in scale. Not necessarily like classical music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's move on. Our next main character. This is going to be our last main character. Um, is Darkness. How would you describe Darkness?
Horny.
Okay, that's true. I don't think it's super accurate though.
No.
It's not. It's like half. It's half. Of it.
Okay.
There's a defining characteristic to what makes her horny.
She's a masochist.
Yes, she's
Okay.
very masochistic.
I didn't know if we were going to go right into that or not. Yeah,
Yes.
she's a masochist.
Yeah, she likes being humiliated and hurt physically.
And the idea of being hurt.
Yes. She is a crusader class. She has a sword, but she confesses she always misses.
Always misses.
But she can take a lot of damage.
Yes, she can.
And she loves every minute of it.
Mm-hmm. She's also stubborn.
Yeah, like she will.
It's like she'll always like stand up to a fight, even though she's either grossly overpowered or just doesn't have to be there.
Yeah. Just like, you really don't. They don't have to stand right by the explosion. I don't know. It's fine.
No, I have to.
I have to defend the town. Okay, so I wrote down, going back to the comparison to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I wrote down like a lot of them are more like Willy Loman from Death of a Salesman. Do you remember Death of a Salesman from high school
I don't.
English? Okay, so basically, Willy Loman thought he was this great salesman, that he had a lot of people that liked him.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, he was just kind of a loser. I think like just his family members showed up to his funeral, even though he was like, I'm gonna, you're gonna see people come from miles around, people I've been dealing business with, but nobody cares when he dies other than his family. And his family is all revealed to be equally as pathetic. The only one who has any redeeming quality is one of his sons, Biff, realizes that they're pathetic.
Wait,
the other
Biff?
ones, I believe it's Biff Loman. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while.
There's a character named Biff who's redeemable. It's weird.
I mean, again, maybe I'm misremembering his name, but one of his sons realizes towards the end of the play that he is like, oh wait, no, we're not super cool. We are pathetic. Like, and that's basically the only redeeming quality, is acknowledging how you're pathetic and then trying to build up from that, instead of being lost in this, I'm the best or whatnot. So maybe not the exact right, but I was really just trying to find like what are some characters that are pathetic more than terrible people.
Okay.
Because there's a little bit of them being terrible people making the depraved choices when they don't need to. But not always. Sometimes they make the right choice, and you're like, okay, that was semi-heroic, or there's some redeeming qualities there. So should we go into the episode notes here?
Yeah, sure.
So I wrote down notes for each episode, basically to remind myself what happens. We can talk about it. If you want to interject at any point to talk about something, just let me know.
Okay.
I will have less notes as we go forward, just because a lot of it is comedy bits, insinuated. So it's like, okay, not a lot necessarily happened, even though it was very entertaining. Where towards the front episode, I'm like, okay, I really have to explain what's going on here because the premise is being set up. So, first episode, Kazuma is a loser who almost never leaves his room. He left his room one day to go buy a
video game.
I think so. I think it was a video game. It had a figure in it too. Yeah. It was like a promo thing. He had to actually go to a store to get and wait in line instead of order online or something. He sees somebody walking in the road and then sees what he thinks is a truck driving down the road. So he pushes her out of the way and then he dies.
Yes.
And he thought, oh, I died a noble death. Turns out, no, he didn't die a noble death. He died of shock.
He died of a heart attack.
He died of a heart attack while he was in shock. It wasn't a truck. It was a slow-moving tractor that would have stopped.
So his death was meaningless.
Yeah. He didn't even get run over by the tractor.
No,
he just thought he was going to get run over by a truck. So he went into shock and then he pissed himself.
Yeah, he also peed himself.
Yeah, and I believe all the doctors and his family members were laughing about how he died.
Yep.
Or at least that's what we're told. How much of that is really true, who knows? But that is what happened in his death. He is greeted by Aqua, who is like, hey, you've got some options. You can go to heaven. It's super boring there. You basically just lay in the sun all day.
Don't have a physical body. There's no sex. All that. Yeah. No video games.
Yeah, nothing just fun to do.
Yeah.
Or you can get reincarnated. And I can even get you reincarnated in this fantasy world, like those games you like. And you'll even get like a special broken power up for getting to.
And you get to keep your memories.
So you'll be like the age you are now, and you'll have all your knowledge of how fantasy worlds work and all that. So he gets convinced to do it. He's trying to pick out his cheat card, basically what item he gets. Aqua kind of makes fun of him some more for how he died. I think this is where they start, and how she just starts laughing at him.
Yeah.
Showing her true personality. She's not necessarily a nice, benevolent goddess. So Kazuma decides to choose her as his cheat out of spite. Just
completely out of spite.
All right, I'm gonna pick you. Now you got to go down here too. Another goddess shows up immediately before Aqua can say, no, you can't do that, and says, this has been accepted.
It's legit. It works.
You can come back when you defeat the Demon King, all that. They show up in the fantasy world, just them and what they're wearing. They don't have any equipment or anything like that, or any money.
Yep, no money.
They go to the... Kazuma starts out being like, all right, I know what to do. We need to find the Adventurers Guild. They find the Adventurers Guild. And he's like, all right, he's semi-competent. He knows what he's doing. And they're like, okay, well, you'll need to pay the entrance fee. What? We don't have any money. Well, I'm sorry, you can't join then. They're just sitting there waiting. Eventually, Aqua sees a priest, tells him that she's a goddess, and demands that he provide for them. Turns out he worships a different god, and he doesn't believe that she's a goddess because why would you?
Yeah.
Saying, here, I pity you. Here's some money to pay the entrance fee. I heard that you couldn't pay it before. But you really shouldn't call yourself a goddess. So they're like, all right, that's fine. They join the adventurers. They start going on jobs doing construction, which is they have a nice montage. They seem to be living an okay life. They sleep in a stable, but they have enough to eat and get drunk every night. Aqua throws up a bunch.
She pukes rainbows.
Yeah, she does puke rainbows. I don't know if that's censoring or if that's real, but that's a pretty common censoring thing to have the vomit show up like rainbows.
She's a goddess, though. So
she is a goddess. All of a sudden, they realize. Okay, that's basically the first episode. That's kind of where we end off.
They basically end up in the episode saying, "Wait, what are we doing? We're supposed to be defeating the Demon King, not construction workers."
Wait a minute, we've been working. What? This isn't very fun.
Yeah.
So the next episode starts. They get a kill quest to fight giant frogs.
It's mating season.
Yes, it's giant frog mating season, and they like eat a bunch of like locals, sheeps and stuff. So they
and kids.
Yeah, people go missing,
Yeah.
so they just need to have adventurers to go thin the herd a little bit. So they get a quest to kill 5 giant frogs in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They kill 2 of them the first day.
Yes.
Um,
But Aqua gets eaten twice.
Yes, Aqua. Their main strategy is Aqua gets eaten by the giant frog while it's busy with her in her mouth. Kazuma comes in and stabs it a bunch with a small sword. And then it happens again. It's very comical. It's not an intended strategy. Aqua does not want this. They do eventually, after the first day, they put out a want ad for more adventurers.
Because they are overmatched.
Yeah. It's harder than they thought it would be. They need more help.
Mm-hmm.
Then they put on there that only high advanced class adventurers are welcome.
Yes.
Even though Kazuma is not an advanced class, Aqua is like a high priestess just because she's a goddess, so she had busted stats.
Mm-hmm.
That's when That's when Megumin shows up for the first time.
Correct.
She's an archmage, so she fills the requirements. She can use explosion magic. Then they learn she can only use it once a day, and she collapses out of exhaustion because she overexerts herself every time she casts it.
She is a one-hit pony.
She's a glass cannon.
Yes.
Very, very powerful. No constitution.
I want to point out one note I wrote about her is that she has a dope hat.
Yes, she has a dope witch's hat.
It reminds me. I might be wrong about this. It reminds me of like Wizardmon's hat from Digimon.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So
it's like a witch hat, but it's got like patches in it, and
almost looks
like a face. Yeah. I'll be honest with you right now. Megumin is probably my favorite character in the show.
I would probably have to agree.
I'm going to nominate her as best girl right now. I don't think.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay, we'll go on that.
Give me a tease. I might be agreeing with you.
Okay, that's more than a tease, but all right. Jonny here with a quick editor's note. We say we're going to get back to talking about the best girl. We never do. I did confirm with Ben after the recording. Megumin is indeed best girl, voted by both of us. All right, back to the show. So she joins them in their hunt for frogs. They kill like 1 frog with the explosion magic, and the sound of it wakes up like 2 more frogs.
Yeah.
And both Aqua and Megumin get swallowed by the frog. It was. I love that scene where it's just like, all right, yep, I know what's gonna happen, but I still love the fact that they commit. Aqua's always in like the same pose as she's going down the frog's throat.
I liked Megumin knowing that this was a possibility because when the other one awoke, she's like, okay, I didn't know that was gonna happen that close. I thought I'd have more of a buffer for that.
I don't remember that, but she's like, wait a minute. So you expected more frogs to be drawn to the sound of it?
She knew of the possibility.
Yeah, I guess there was already 2 frogs that they saw, and then the third one showed up unexpectedly after the explosion.
But they kill 3 frogs, so they completed the quest.
Yes. Now at the end of this episode, you see them return to the tavern or the town. Megumin is being carried by Kazuma because she cannot walk after using the explosion magic. Aqua and Megumin are covered in frog slime, mucus, saliva. Kazuma tries to say like, "Yeah, this isn't working out. You're not going to join the party." But then she starts being very loud about how he did despicable things to get all this slime on him, and people are like, "Ew, that's that guy." And he's like, "All right, fine, shut up. You're in." and they are approached by. It ends with Darkness approaching Kazuma. We don't really get anything.
The character, not actual Darkness.
Yes, the character Darkness approaching Kazuma. We don't really. We don't really know why she's approaching him at this point.
No, but she does already give the hint that she's a masochist because I wrote it down.
Okay.
Just
I think she might ask if he was the guy who showed up with the two girls covered in frog song.
Yeah.
And you could tell she's like blushing and excited about it. I just wrote "Approached by Darkness" in my notes here.
Then episode 3.
Episode 3. We'll go more into depth, but I'm going to just read off exactly what I have written in my notes here.
Okay.
Cabbages. Darkness joins the party. Kazuma joins the panty raid.
Okay.
You think that's an accurate representation of what happened that episode?
You gotta like backward because it's like panty raid.
Yes.
Cabbages, and then I think Darkness joins.
Yes, you are right. I wrote down Cabbages, but you're right. He does join the panty raid first.
Yes.
So Darkness approaches him saying, "Hey, I want to join your party." She describes her quirks. He can tell that there's something very off about her.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "No, I think we're okay." And then she approaches him again with a new character called Chris, who is a thief character.
Yes.
And is a girl.
Yes.
With the name Chris. I guess. I mean, I know Chris. I know some Christies, and I know there's a.
I like the idea of a fantasy world and somebody's just named Chris.
Well, there's another character we meet later on. His name is Keith, who's not
You're
important
gonna give
whatsoever.
up Keith already?
He's not important.
That's the biggest.
I didn't have Keith in my notes. All right, he was not important. But basically, there's like living cabbage. Well, all cabbages are living, I guess. But there's sentient cabbages.
Yes.
Flying into town,
mm-hmm.
and it's cabbage harvesting season. They have to defeat them first of all because they can cause some destruction, and second of all because it's free food.
That and they'll run away and like just die.
Yeah, they'll just die in a desert where nobody can eat them if they
don't catch them.
So it's a whole town.
It's almost like an
quest.
Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So they have to defeat as many cabbages as possible. Darkness is like, this is a great opportunity to showcase what I can do. She takes a lot of hits from cabbages, doesn't hit a single one. Aqua catches a few, but most of what she catches is lettuce instead of cabbages, which I guess there's lettuce there too, and those don't go for nearly as much money. Megumin hits quite a few with explosion, but then she's done. And it's like, I don't think you can eat those cabbages after you hit them in the explosion. And then Kazuma uses the thief skills taught to him by Chris earlier in the episode, which we're getting ahead of ourselves. Chris offers, like, hey, consider Darkness. I'll teach you some low-level skills that might be useful for you.
Yeah.
There was like a sneak skill to hide his presence. There was another one, and then there was steal, which is what you actually see. So the steal one, you yell out steal, which is very obvious, and you steal a random item from a person.
Yes.
If you're lucky, you'll get more expensive items. If you're not lucky, you'll get whatever junk they have on them.
Yeah. Rocks, I think.
Yeah. Well, Chris has just a handful of rocks to like throw the game in her favor. But it's like, if you're lucky, you'll get this dagger that goes for a lot of money that I've got. Kazuma gets her panties instead.
Yes.
Shows his depravity to the world, and I believe she has to like pay him for it, or like.
Yeah, I think he just gets back the money that she stole from him.
Oh, that's right. And then maybe some extra on top of that or something, which is just like, all right. That becomes a common thing. I think every time he uses steal against one of the female characters, he steals their panties.
Yeah, I think that only happens like one more time though.
Yeah, I think it happens to Megumin and Aqua.
I don't remember Aqua.
In the same scene, basically. Okay. I think it comes up again in season 2, but you're right. It doesn't come up after this episode again.
Yeah.
But anyway, he uses the skills taught to him by Chris to get a lot of cabbages and
Yes.
earn some money.
A lot of money.
And then they don't split it evenly among the party because Aqua had the idea that everyone should keep whatever they actually get, because she thought she was going to make it big, but all she had was lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
So Kazuma gets to keep all of his money. Aqua begs him to pay out her debt that she accrued by a big night of drinking the night before. Still, he's got a nice sum of money at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They still live in a stable, though.
Yes.
Okay. Next episode.
Hold on. I gotta point out two things from this episode. One, there's the line that says, "Bring out the mayonnaise."
Yes.
Great line. Just wanted to point it out. And also, Darkness has basically a scene where she platoons it with cabbages, where she's getting riddled. Instead of getting riddled with bullets like Platoon, she's just getting hit with cabbages.
Okay. So this is where you're showing your movie knowledge more than I have. Platoon, I've heard of that. It is, I'm guessing, a war movie.
Yes.
And there's a scene similar. It's basically like a direct homage to that scene then when she's.
No, it's just reminding me of it because it's just him like on the ground getting like riddled with bullets and everything. But she's just there, just standing there getting hit with cabbages.
Okay.
I just thought it was funny.
We should note she does officially get to join the party after this point.
Yes.
The next day, we get a little bit of just like slice of life of what they're doing to fill up their days. Megumin goes to practice her explosion every day. Kazuma goes with her so that somebody can carry her back.
Yes.
She can't do it near town anymore because people were getting mad at her for causing giant explosions. So they find what looks to be an abandoned castle. And so she uses that as her target every day to do the explosions.
Yes.
We see lots and lots of that happening. I think we also see like Aqua working a part-time job.
Yeah, as a vendor.
Yeah, as a street vendor somewhere. Turns out that abandoned castle is no longer abandoned. One of the Demon King's generals, a Dullahan, which is like the headless horseman, basically.
The headless horseman.
Yeah, is his horse headless?
His horse is headless.
His horse is headless. Okay.
Horseman.
And Dullahans are also like knights too. So
Yeah.
you have to think, okay, it's a knight wearing black armor riding a headless horse, and he's got his head in his hand. So
he comes into town.
Yeah, he's on the outskirts of town, and everyone has to go try to get him to fight him off. He casts a curse on. He tries to cast it on Megumin. Darkness jumps in the way, gets the curse. Darkness keeps wanting him to take her captive so he can force her to do depraved things. He's a little like, I don't want anything to do with this woman. I'm not like that. Don't put those words in my mouth. I'm just gonna curse you. You'll have to come fight me if you want to remove the curse.
Yes.
I'll be in my castle. Quit hitting it with explosions every day. It's making me really mad.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh no, Darkness is gonna die in a week if we don't do this.
She got the death touch.
She got the death touch, which is, if you don't know, it's a reference to the Men Who Stare at Goats, which I think we saw in theaters for like my 12th birthday or something.
No, I wasn't 12. We were fairly.
Were we in middle school?
It was an R-rated movie, and I don't think we should have been in there.
I don't think it was. Was it R-rated? I thought it was PG-13.
I think it was R.
It was?
Yeah.
I mean, my parents let us go, so.
But anyways, there's a scene where, George Clooney's character gets hit with what's called a death touch.
Yeah, by another like psychic character.
And then that death touch means he's going to die
at some point. Sometime, some point. His death is going to be caused by the death touch.
And then later in the movie, it's revealed, spoilers for Men Who Stare at Goats, that he has cancer. But he swears by it that the cancer came from that death touch.
Yes.
So Darkness got the death touch.
Yeah, Darkness got the death touch from the curse. The Dullahan leaves, saying you'll have to come fight me. Kazuma and Megumin feel guilty about this. They're like, all right, we're going to go. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to try to fight this Dullahan. We're probably going to die, but no, it is our fault. Then Aqua comes in and casts Remove Curse, and everything is fine. Episode ends. So the useless goddess, again, very useful, but very rarely is she useful. Most of the time, she's like, all right, You're just dragging us down. Okay, that's that episode.
Yep.
I think that point they want to like give up on adventuring. They're like, all right, let's just go back to whatever. Oh, that's sorry. That was for the start of the episode. They really don't do any adventures in their day to day. I have gave up on adventuring in my notes, but I have it out of order again. Okay. So the next episode, they take a quest to purify a lake nearby that's got a lot of monsters in it. That's like attacking people who live near that lake. They want somebody to come in and purify it so the monsters will go away. Not necessarily a monster kill quest, but they might run into monsters.
Yep.
Aqua says, I'm a goddess. Just by touching the water, I can purify it, but it would take about like half a day. So, they need to keep monsters away from her for half a day. But them being inept, they have one explosion spell they can cast, and they really don't have any other damaging spells. They decide the best way to do it is to put Aqua in a cage, tie the cage to a giant rock so they can pull it in, and then move the cage into the water so she can sit. It's protected by the cage. Cage gets attacked by giant crocodiles while she's purifying it there. Like, do you want us to pull it in? It's like, we won't get the money. If you pull it in, leave me in here. But she's obviously freaking out. She's not only is she just sitting in it at this point, she's sitting in it for like hours, I think. But she's just like actually casting Purify several times over to try to speed it up. They're like, are you sure you don't want us to pull out? It's like, nope, I will stick here. Then finally the lake is purified. The monsters run away hours later.
And she's traumatized.
She's traumatized. I wrote down, Aqua gets in the cage and doesn't want to leave. She's cage people now.
Okay. My note was similar. I just put cage is life now.
Cage is life now. Yeah. It's like, she's like, the cage is safe. I'm safe in the cage. I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
So they carry her back into town with the cage in tow. It's a very, she's singing like a song about how she was imprisoned unfairly or something, just under her breath. And it's like, we're in town now. Can you really stop singing that? We'll let you out. We're not. You're the one who chose to stay in the cage. And then I wrote down another loser shows up, meaning another person from a parallel world.
Yeah.
I am assuming from Japan.
I would assume.
I think it's explicitly mentioned later on that Aqua is the goddess that sees over Japan.
Okay.
But he shows up, he recognizes Aqua, sees that she's in a cage, thinks she's been captured by the party that's there. And he's like, he's got mad hots for her. He's like, my goddess, she gave me this magic sword that can beat anything. This cursed sword only works for me. So he goes, he challenges them or he actually breaks the cage.
Yes.
To try to free her, and she's like, I don't want to leave the cage. The rest of the party is like, hey, what's going on? He's like, my goddess, come with me. And she's like, yeah, kind of creeping me out here, dude. I don't really want to go. It's like, don't you remember me? Like, maybe. Yes. I see so many people. I kind of remember you now. He picks a fight with Kazuma. Kazuma uses steel, steals his giant cursed sword, and the same scene that he steals it, it shows up in his hand and is way too heavy for him to hold. So he like drops it
and knocks him out.
Yeah, and the sword blade knocks out on the guy, and they're like, "Man, that guy was weird. Let's get out of here." Aqua wants nothing to do with them. The guy is like, "You need to give." The guy's party members show up, 2 girls, and they're like, "You need to give the sword back. Only he can use it." And he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna keep it. I don't care if I can't use it.
It's like, if you want it, you're gonna have to fight me. And I'm not afraid to hit girls. He basically says that.
Yeah, I believe in true gender equality. Yeah. I will drop kick a girl.
So they run away.
Yeah, they run away, disgusted by him, as they should be.
And then Aqua gets over her cage.
Yeah, she's like, wait a minute. I'm a goddess. Yeah. I don't live in a cage. Guy shows up at the Adventurers Guild the next day, wants to get his sword back, and he's like, sorry.
He basically apologizes, I think, for being so rash. He's like, "Can I have my sword back?"
And they're like, ooh, sold it.
He sold his sword.
I'm not giving you the money for it. Aqua sees him, gets mad at him because he broke the cage, which she had to pay for.
So they made very little money from that quest.
Yes, they made very little money from the quest because they had to pay for the cage repairs. So she insists that he pay her back for the cage repairs that he broke. But she gives him more than the cage repair actually cost, if I remember correctly.
I think the cage repair is like 200,000, and she asked for 300.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, all right. Again, we're seeing that they're not great people. He gladly pays the money because she was mad at him. And he's like, still, worshiping him as a goddess.
Then he just leaves to try to find his sword.
Yeah, he leaves to try to find his sword, and we don't see him again.
We don't see him again.
I don't remember if he shows up again, but that's the end of that episode. Next episode, the Doulahan shows back up.
It's like, hey, it's been a week. Where were you guys?
Why would you let your companion die? I used to be a knight. That's disgraceful. And then he sees darkness in the crowd, and it's like,
Nani?
What's going on here? They fight him. They use Turn Undead against him several times, and it makes him roll around on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking it as it made him horny or something.
No, I got it to where it really hurt, but it wasn't strong enough to actually do the job.
Okay.
I
got a little bit of a he was turned on from it vibe.
No, I think it was more it's really powerful, but it wasn't enough to turn him completely undead, because they're like, dude, that really hurt you, didn't it? He's like, no, it didn't. What are you talking about? Then they do it again, and he's like, ah!
They fight him. It's an extended fight. Eventually, they realize that his weakness is water for whatever reason. So Aqua casts flood level magic again, very useful.
Aqua's a goddess. It's probably holy water. So
yeah. Well, he was. They noticed in the fight before he used create water to attack him, and he dodged it expertly. And he's like, okay, I think his weakness is water. The fact that it's probably also holy water, double whammy. She creates flood level magic. Eventually, they steal
his head.
They steal his head. He uses steel on him a couple of times to try to get the sword from him, but then eventually he gets the head. They play soccer with some of the townspeople in the head.
They don't know what soccer is, but they keep kicking it. This one guy's an expert player already.
Yeah, he's juggling it.
I can't do that, and I played soccer for 4 years.
We played soccer for 6 years.
Yeah, whatever.
And there's no way we'd be able to do that. At our height, maybe 2 or 3. Maybe 4. But yeah, so that's okay. And then I think they hit the flood level magic. He is defeated. He dies. They get a major reward for killing a demon.
300 million.
300 million.
Eris, whatever they're called.
Eris is what it is, because it's named after the other goddess.
So, yeah, they get $300 million for the reward, and then Kazuma is just like, I'm giving up at being an adventurer. I'm going to just live my life, because I'm a millionaire now. And
then it turns out that the damage caused by the flood destroyed the town wall, and it was 340 million
to fix
that.
$360 million to fix part of a wall.
Look, man, I have written down Kazuma pays for the Trump wall.
Well, he pays for almost all of it.
Yeah, they do give him. They reduce the debt a little bit because of it, but it pretty much takes up all of his reward money. So he's mad at Aqua again for causing over damage. So they're still basically in the same place, living in a stable. We don't know where Megumine's living at this point. We think Darkness is living with her family, but we don't know anything about her family yet.
We don't know anything. So the next episode, I don't have any notes, so I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I forget.
The next episode, it's revealed that it's starting to be winter. Waking up with frozen eyebrows. They get a quest. They're like, oh, hey, there's this quest to kill snow sprites, which apparently each one you kill means spring will come a day sooner.
They're really easy to kill.
Real easy to kill, but they're super high reward, like 100,000 per one. So Kazuma's like, all right, sounds good. Um, he's a little off put that it's such an easy kill for a high reward,
Yeah.
and darkness seems to be all about it. And she, whenever they look at Quest, she always wants to go fight the big thing that could kill you in one hit.
Yeah.
To suit her masochistic needs. So he's like, I can't figure out why this is happening. So they go. We get to see some cool winter gear for them, other than their alternate stuff. Just a nice costume change. They kill several snow sprites. At one point, Megumin uses explosion, and I'm like, oh, that must have hit a lot of them. She's like, I got 8 of them. It's like
they're like really tiny. They're just like big as a snowball.
Yeah, they're like a snowball size. Not even. They're like half a snowball. Just these little cute things. Aqua captures some of them in a bottle. She's like, they can keep our drinks cool in the summer. I'm gonna, this is a genius idea. Eventually, though, they kill enough of them, and then they realize why this is such a big reward for these. Is the snow sprites have a protector that will show up. It was the Winter Shogun, which is it was pretty quick, but they mentioned that it was formed out of the thoughts of somebody else who came from Japan who knew the legend of the Winter Shogun, and like they heard those thoughts and they took that form to protect the snow sprites years ago. Explains why some popular Japanese figure showed up. So it's like, okay, that's why we can have a shogun show up. Beheads Kazuma. Kazuma is dead.
Yes, Kazuma dies.
We see that the god that showed up after Aqua and Kazuma were sent there, which is we are revealed to be Eris now, and she's like, "Hey, I can reincarnate you. You died bravely. You'll be put into a wealthy house in Japan." And he's like, "That's great." And then he starts to realize, like, I really had fun though. I wasn't quite ready to be done with that fantasy world.
Before that, he's like trying to get like a little bit more.
Oh yeah, he's trying to like, can you make sure I have a hot girlfriend? Or,
yeah,
it's like, can you make a cute girl be my childhood friend
so I can like marry her after?
And she's like, I can't really do that. No. He realizes that he does miss adventuring with them. He wasn't quite ready to die yet at that point. And then we hear Aqua voice come in saying, "Hey, I cast revive magic on you. You can come back now." Eris is like, "It's not how that works."
And then he like blackmails her somehow.
Aqua threatens to expose the fact that she wears a padded bra.
Yeah.
If she doesn't let him do it, because it's against the rules for him to be revived and he's been reincarnated there. He's like, all right, I'll do it. We'll make an exception. Don't tell anyone. Kazuma is like, this is the goddess. I wish this is what this is a real goddess, and Aqua is just garbage people. So he's revived. That's basically the end of that episode. The next episode, we're introduced to another new character, which they're like, oh, this is a character we already know. And I remember, like, was I not paying attention? Did we meet this character? Like, I knew the character from, like, I remember watching the show, but I didn't remember her entrance being, oh, we already know this character. Here's a flashback to when we met her.
Yeah.
Her name is Wiz. She looks like a busty young woman, but she's actually a lich.
She's a lich lord.
She works for the Demon King, technically, but she's not a bad person. So they go into her shop. Aqua hates her because she's undead.
Yeah.
But they're like, hey, I've got some skill. Cosmo's like, hey, I've got some skill points. Do you think you could teach me a lich skill? She teaches him Drain Touch, which can drain energy from people and redistribute it. Which will be hopefully useful because they have a mage who can only do one shot.
Hint.
Hint.
I called the ability Absorb.
Oh yeah, it's Giga Drain.
Yeah. Giga Drain.
What's the middle one? It's Absorb, Mega Drain. Okay. So he's a grass type Pokemon now.
Yes. Or he knows a grass type.
He knows a grass type move. Yes. So he learns that. She lets them know of a job where they can. They need to exorcise spirits from a mansion, and in return, they can live in that mansion. But there's a bunch of spirits. So that's kind of Aqua's job. She's the goddess. She's been.
I call this episode the Scooby-Doo episode.
Okay. So they move into the mansion. Turns out at least one of the spirit, maybe all of them, are like inhabiting a bunch of dolls, creepy dolls.
My other note was dolls. I'm out.
So they move into the doll mansion. Everyone's like, "Oh, let's go to bed." Aqua's got this. She's a goddess. She'll have them all exercised by the morning. But then the dolls keep showing up. Eventually, he goes to try to get Aqua to go do some more work. But Aqua's not in her room. She's already off exercising more spirits. But Megumin is there, and they both need to go pee. Megumin wanted Aqua to go with her, but now Kazuma and Megumin have to find a way to go pee and avoid all the dolls
being chased by dolls.
Yes. There's lots of scenes there. Eventually, they reach the point where they figure out why there's so many dang spirits there. Somebody had sealed off the graveyard next to it. Turns out it was them who did that because they were being lazy. They had a job to go exercise the spirits.
No, Aqua was being lazy.
Yeah. Well,
no, Aqua hates the undead, so like she put a barrier around it, so like they wouldn't have that problem again or something.
Yeah. Basically, when they met Wiz, she was doing a job of like moving spirits on to the next realm. Aqua takes up that job from her at that point, or they say they'll take care of it. It's Aqua's job every night at midnight to go and move the spirits around, but she's lazy. She doesn't want to do it, so she puts a barrier, thinking, well, if they can't get to it, then they'll just go wherever. They'll go away.
And they all just
went to the mansion next door there. So turns out it's her fault. She's useless once again. She's the cause of their problems. So eventually morning comes. Pretty much all the spirits are gone. Now they live in a mansion.
Yep.
So no more sleeping in the stables. Okay. The next episode is when we're introduced to Keith, if I remember. And Dust. Keith and Dust. Two other adventurers. Kazuma's met before. At this point, we're just episodes are happening. It's like, okay, time has passed. They've been living their lives, but something super interesting has happened. They let him in on a secret. There's a secret shop known only to male adventurers in this town, run by succubi. Yep. Where the succubi, in exchange for a little bit of life energy, not enough for them to really notice, they'll give them pleasant dreams that they can.
Sex dreams.
I don't know if they ever use that word, but yes. You can put your own specifications of what you want on there. So he fills a contract, fills it out. They get and they're told, don't drink too much, don't sleep too soundly, otherwise the dream won't take effect. Yep. Then he's like, all right, sign that. Goes back home. They're eating nice crab for dinner. Came from Darkness's family. First hint that Darkness's family is a little well off. Yep. And some really nice alcohol too. And he's like, oh man, I really gotta not do this. I mean, this is delicious, but I gotta not do this. And he has that moment where he's like, maybe just screw the dreams. These are my friends. This is what it's about.
And then he goes to bed.
And then he's like, as soon as you hear that inner monologue, you don't hear anything else. And he's like, well, I'm going to turn in early, guys. He goes to take a bath before he's in bed, can't sleep. He's too excited.
Yes.
He goes to take a bath to calm himself down, falls asleep in the bath. For whatever reason, I don't think it's ever revealed necessarily who, but the candle indicating that he's in the bath goes out, and the sign saying that he's in the bath is taken away. Darkness walks in holding just a towel. He wakes up. He thinks it's a dream. He didn't ask for Darkness in his dream, but she sort of fits the characteristics. Older woman who's shy and inexperienced. So he's like, I guess they just tailored it to my needs. He starts acting like you would in that, where he's like, wash my back. Why are you so, hung up about, me being naked in front of you? This is just a dream. He uses the word dream several times. Yeah. She eventually is like, am I the one who's being weird here? Starts to wash his back. and then they hear a noise saying there's an intruder in the mansion. They go, they see it's a succubi, and he's like, oh, that wasn't the dream. That's the succubi who's gonna give me. It's like, hey, we caught this. He goes to defend her because
it's his fault that she's there.
It's his fault he's there, and he's horny. Darkness runs up saying he's possessed by the succubi. He's been acting weird this whole time, and he's like, I'm gonna run with that excuse. They beat him up. She runs away.
Succubus runs away.
Yeah,
everything's fine.
Darkness is led to believe that he doesn't remember anything that happened because he's possessed, and he's like, "Yep, that's true." And then he leads them on like, like I had the candle lit and the sign on the door, so somebody was messing with us. He's like, "Wait, do you remember?" And then episode ends. That's that episode. The next episode is really the season finale, though we also watched the OVA that came after it. So we've been getting hints that there's a mobile fortress called Destroyer. I think it was mentioned maybe once or twice before this episode. But we get indication that, hey, this giant invincible fortress that's got a barrier on it is coming to town. We need to evacuate people and try to stop it from destroying the town, even though it's not going to work. They come up with a plan. Aqua says she can break the barrier with her sacred magic. She does. They use 2 explosion spells, one from Wiz and one from Megami to, basically to halt its movement to destroy it. And then it's like, okay, it is destroyed, but then they get a message saying that it's going to self-destruct, and that will apparently also destroy the town. Darkness refuses to move away from it, even when it's self-destructing, saying it would be cowardly. They go to they go inside it. They find the core of the destroyer. Wiz uses Drain Touch to get some of Kazuma's energy so that she can cast a teleport spell on it. But in their haste to teleport it, she sends it to a random location. Kazuma says it'll be, I'm lucky. I've got a high luck stat. I'll take responsibility for this. Just get it out of here before we explode. So she does that. And then it starts to overheat, I guess, because the core wasn't there to maintain the...
So it's about to blow up again.
Yeah, it's about to blow up again. It's like, I guess we need to destroy it before it blows up. I don't quite get that. Like, we need one more explosion spell. Wiz is out of magic. And Megami was out of magic after her first explosion spell. They're like, okay, Kazuma, you've learned Drain Touch. I'll drain some of Aqua's magic because she's got plenty. She's a goddess. We'll give that to Wiz. But they're like, that won't work because she's holy magic and Wiz is a lich, and it was shown
it would make Wiz disappear.
Yeah, it was shown to have a similar effect when she was teaching Kazuma how to do Drain Touch. So it's Megamine's time to shine. They have a double Drain Touch. It's a little erotic, but then they use the explosion. They destroy it.
Town saved.
Yep, town is saved. They're partying. Somebody shows up and says, hey, we heard that it was under your authority that this core was teleported.
Kazuma's expecting to get this huge reward.
Yep, and it's like you're under arrest because that destroyed this one lord's manor near the capital city.
The orb they teleported right into like this governor's mansion and it destroyed it. So he's a terrorist now.
Yeah, he's branded a terrorist and arrested. And that's where the episode ends. We then start watching the OVA, not realizing at first that it's an OVA. I'm like, are they just not gonna talk about this? I looked it up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is an OVA. Which reminds me, do you know what an OVA is?
Kind of, not exactly.
Do you know what it stands for? It's English. What it stands for is English.
No, I don't.
Original video animation.
Original video animation. So it's basically a one-off episode.
Yeah, it's something that is normally included. It's not actually broadcast on TV for the most part.
Okay.
It is included with like a light novel sale or a manga sale. It's like a DVD. It's also sometimes called OAD, Original Animation DVD.
Okay.
Or OAV, Original Animation Video. It's got a few things, but basically it's an episode that is not a part of the series. It may or may not be canon, but it doesn't. It wasn't on the TV. It was released somewhere else. So we watched that one. They're in Wiz's shop. We meet a new character that will show up again in season 2 called Yun, who is an old quote unquote friend of Megumin's
/rival.
Rival. Megumin doesn't really see her as a rival or a friend, but they're from the same clan of wizards.
What is she, a demon claw or something?
I don't remember, but yes, that name. They'll come up again later. I know they're in the movies more. But she is basically, always wants to compete and hang out with Megumin. They're in Wiz's shop. They're arguing. I think at one point Megumin just starts slapping her boobs.
Yes,
and
specifically wrote breast slapping.
And
then, it's really funny.
And all the confusion. The Kazuma picks up a choker that fell on the ground. He's like, "Oh, this thing grants wishes." He puts it on just to try it out, and they're like, "Oh God, why did you put that on? That unless your wish is granted in 4 days, it's going to gradually choke you to death."
And it has to be like a self-fulfilled wish or something, so it's not something that happens automatically, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. It's not a wish fulfilling choker in that your wishes automatically come true. It's you have to make your wishes come true.
It's a great way
under
for
threat of death.
It's a great way for women to lose weight.
It's why they sell it. Yeah. That's why it's a popular item. You get really motivated. Yeah. So everyone was like, "Oh no, he's gonna die." They feel really bad.
Everybody blames themselves.
Yeah, everybody blames themselves for this. So he starts just having them do depraved acts. Nothing overtly sexual, but he
Oh, what do you mean overtly sexual? They play strip, rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, but he's not give me a hand job.
Oh, that's true.
Though there was one point where I think he's trying to get one of them to touch his dick.
Yeah, he was trying to get Megumi to touch dry his dick or scratch his dick or something.
She brings it up and he's like, "What? You're the one who brought it up." But
he gets bidet.
Yeah, he's like, "Aqua, make a natural hot spring," and then she does eventually make one and shoots up right into his butt while that's happening. Did Megumin and Yun play strip, rock, paper, scissors? He makes Darkness do push-ups and sit-ups.
Yeah.
I don't know, just a whole bunch of okay.
Rests on Wiz's thighs.
Yeah, uses her as a lap.
One point face down. I don't know why it's really funny.
It's like, you sure you're supposed to do this face down? It's like, yeah, where I'm from, sometimes we do it face down. But it's a very clear, okay, I see why this is an OVA, why this was included as a promotional thing. This is a fan service episode, which is pretty typical for OVAs. It's fun, but I don't necessarily like too much fan service in a show.
I don't either.
It gets a little okay, this is just a tease.
Pandering.
This is be hentai or not. Don't be halfway in between. But apparently it sells, that sort of stuff sells really well. I've seen a lot of it. Some of it's funny. Some of it just kind of gets okay. I mean, this is the 5th time this type of scenario has happened. I know how it's going to go. It's not going to be satisfying to see how this ends. Eventually, though,
it's been 4 days. He gets all these sex or perverted, depraved wishes, and he still has the collar on.
Yeah, he's like, I can't think of anything else that I would want to happen. So I guess he never actually makes Aqua do any depraved things. He just makes her go get him snacks and beer, and he really. So he's like, all right, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna. They all kind of comfort him as he's dying, and he's like, I might as well, get some things off my chest before I die.
Apologize for things.
Apologize for some things. Forget what he apologizes to Darkness for. Oh no, it's okay. I remember what it was now. So, he starts by saying, "Megumin, to apologize to you, I want to let you know, whenever I was carrying you back from all your daily explosion tasks, I've been I tried my best to get a feel of your boobs as much as possible by shifting positions and all that. Yun and Wiz, whenever I look at you, I am always looking at your boobs. I'm not looking at your face.
I wrote down, you are boobs.
He says to Aqua, he's like, when we were living together in the stable, it flashes back to a scene of him trying to sniff his hair. It's like, I tried my hardest to see you as a love interest, and I just couldn't.
I just couldn't.
Couldn't do it.
I see you. You're nothing to me.
And then to Darkness, he's like, in Darkness, ever since I've only ever thought of you as boobs. That is all you are. And then the collar comes off because his offhand remark before putting it on was that he could use some comfort, and when they comforted him earlier, that fulfilled the wish. But now that it's off and he's not going to die,
they kill him.
They kill him. The scene ends with him showing up and looking at Eris again. It's like, okay, so that was the end of the OVA. He dies for retribution for his sins.
But he gets reincarnated. They resurrect him again, don't they?
I don't remember if they do or not.
I thought.
I mean, they do because there's a season 2 and all that.
I just thought like Eris is like, we'll let this one pass. This is just too.
Just don't. Oh yeah, that's right. We'll let this one pass. Try not to die in such a demeaning way. And that's the end of Konosuba. I've got written down who has dibs on everybody. I've got dibs on Megumin and Darkness. You've got dibs on and Yun.
Okay.
You got dibs on Aqua and Wiz and the receptionist lady who works at the hall there. And she shows up quite a bit. I don't think we ever get her name.
I don't think they ever say it.
Yeah. I think I claimed first dibs with Megumin, and then you immediately dibbed Aqua, and I said, all right, you can have her. At this point, you don't really know enough about Aqua to realize her flaws and all that.
Well, if you know the show, you always go for the best girl, but then if you lose, you just got to go for quantity.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the sub game of this dibs game is it's like I got to try to make sure you don't remember that the game exists and wait my moment to strike to get the opportunity. If I do it too quickly, I'm gonna get some loser, and you're gonna get best girl because you're on the edge there. Yeah. So the striking first is important, but being accurate is more important than speed there. Yeah. So, but that's Konosuba. What are you now that we've talked through it? You know, do you want to watch season 2?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're gonna watch season 2 eventually. Whether or not that'll be the next episode we cover, who knows?
Do you want to rate it out of 10?
Rate it out of 10. I mean, I have rated it out of 10. I can.
Come on, just offhand. Come on.
Offhand, right now, I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay, that's about where I'm at. 7.5.
I think I might go up a little higher if I remember, like if we rewatch season 2 and the movie, and it's, if it gets better, because I do believe it at least stays quality. It doesn't get worse.
Yeah, it's a 7. I think it's enjoyable. It is funny. The characters are fun. It does kind of feel a bit repetitive, maybe, in terms of like the jokes they say, because the main jokes is
the jokes are like, okay, here's these flaws for these characters, and they're gonna keep to the bit. Yeah. Which I think it kind of ebbs and flows as far as how funny the bit is. Second or third time, you're like, all right, I get it. That's the bit. 10th time, you're like, they're fucking doing it again.
The bits are funny enough to where they work, though.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, here we go again. It's like, okay, this is still funny.
Not a lot happens in episodes just because like it's filled with the bits, which is more than fine. Like you don't have to. This is not a show where I'm like, I need to know what happens next. Like, because at this point I'm like, fairly official Kazuma doesn't really care about killing the Demon King. He just wants to live comfortably. Aqua still sort of cares about it. She wants to go back to being a goddess and get out of this world. Megumin just wants to cast Explosion every day and be, super cool. Darkness just has her needs. So they're kind of, okay, this is just fun characters, fun things. Definitely recommend watching it. If anything that we've said strikes you as, okay, that'd be funny, why did you listen to the rest of this? Because this is super spoiler filled. We are going to move on to end the episode here with a game that we're going to play, which you've got my anime list pulled up here. Did you pick one?
No, I didn't. I was going to do it randomly.
Okay.
You want to explain what we're doing?
Yes. So what we're going to do, I, for the most part, have been keeping track of all the anime that I've watched. I think you had a counter on it before we started recording. There's like 400 something anime in here.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind some of those are dropped anime, some of those are put on hold, some of those are currently airing. Most of those are, I'm going to say, are complete. I really don't drop a lot of stuff unless I forget about it or I really don't care about it. So Ben's going to pick one, and then I'm going to try to remember what the plot of it is and give that information to you in under a minute.
And review it.
And review it? Okay.
Yeah.
Remember the plot and give a basic review.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember what I gave it on my anime list, because I've been trying to also score them. If I finish a show, try to give it a score out of 10, just as like a basis. But
Okay, I got one picked out.
okay, what is the name of the show? Also, you should get a timer going.
Okay. So the show is, I'm assuming I can just say the American name. It's
Yes.
Eureka 7.
Okay, Eureka 7, I think is how it's.
Whatever.
Eureka, I think it's pronounced in the dub, Eureka or something like that.
Okay, so Eureka 7. All right. You have 1 minute. Ready? Go.
Okay, Eureka 7 is a mecha show where the mechs also like surf the air somehow. There's like energy that they can surf on. It's weird. They all have like mechs that surf. The main character joins a gang of people who have this, or a team or something. There's a girl about his age called Eureka who there's like something off about her. I think she's an artificial life form or something. Anyway, it's kind of like a romance between them with giant robots. I would say, as a review of it, it's okay. It was something I watched towards the beginning of my rejuvenation into anime. I like giant robots, so I like romance. I think it falls a little flat. I'd probably give it a 6 or a 7. I don't know what I gave it on my anime list. Probably around that range, though, 6 or 7. And that's the minute there.
Yep, that was a minute. I don't know if it says what you gave it.
Oh, I can find that for you here.
Okay. And that was your minute review.
I gave it a 6 on my anime list there. So if any of these shows sound interesting to you, give them a chat. If you want us to talk about something, we may do the similar structure. We've got a few other segments we might replace the game with, or we might replace the rule of 3 segment with something else. We might just have episodes where we talk about just a theme of anime, like bad anime or mecha anime or rom-coms, something. We'll hopefully have guests on at some point when it's safe to be around people you don't live with. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. If you even watched it, the three of you listening to this, really appreciate you giving the time to listen to this. So we'll be at you again at some point.
Yep.
So adios.
See ya.